I've read this book, Becoming Supernatural, by Dr. Joe Dispenza over 6 times, along with the audiobook. I've also meditated to his recordings for hundreds of hours. And on this video, I want to break down exactly what I've learned, what I've implemented, and what I've experienced in my life to help me make more money, to get in better shape, to have better relationships, all from the teachings of Dr. Joe Dispenza. And if you're new around these parts, my name is Nico Arapklis. I run an education company that focuses on the woo and the do to help you build an authentic personal brand so that you can manifest more premium clients, relationships, speaking opportunities, the whole bang. And so the woo side is much more on the Dr. Joe Dispenza stuff because I've learned so much from this. And then we start incorporating social media, AI, a lot of cool things. And at the end of this video, I'm going to walk you through some AI prompts that's actually going to help you expand on this stuff significantly, build out some frameworks, and make this stuff very quick so you can really internalize this and not have to read it 6 times or meditate hundreds of hours if you don't choose to. So let's dive into this. Well, first I just want to let you know that, like I've said, I've read that book 6 times. I've internalized it. I've studied it. And these are the concepts and these are the principles that have significant helped me. And again, I want to kind of walk you through some frameworks that have significantly helped me every time I come back to them. Because there's been times and experiences that I've had when I start getting away from this stuff. I get away from the woo side of things. And then I start getting strung out. I start getting a little bit anxious, right? And I had that experience recently. And I realized that I was starting to get anxious. And so that's when I came over to AI to help me start utilizing some of the principles inside of Dr. Joe Dispenza's stuff. And it really helped me significantly. And again, I'll get into those AI prompts here in a little bit. But I want to talk about some of the most important things that I've got out of this book and some of the most important things that I've got from really sitting down and just being with myself for literally hundreds of hours. Okay. It's really, really profound. Okay. When I was reading this book first, I was going through a really rough patch. I tore my pectoral tendon. I was going through an extremely rough breakup, and it was just a challenging piece. In fact, I went into extreme depths about that in another video on this YouTube channel, so feel free to go check that out. But it was a really rough patch, right? And I really had no other option but to really sit with myself because I was in a sling and I was just sitting there sleeping on a recliner in my parents' place. It was a really rough time in my life, right? But it was a really beautiful time in my life because it literally forced me down to sit down and actually meditate. And what I realized and what Dr. Joe Dispenza talks about all the time is change your energy, change your state. Change your energy, change your life, right? Change your energy and change your state is very much the similar thing, right? But sometimes I get away from that, especially when I'm working. I don't know if you can relate to that or not, being an entrepreneur. But sometimes I just like pushing through things and just keep on going and going and going and going, right? But what's interesting is that I actually turned over to AI. Again, I'm a big advocate of this. And if you're not already, this video might change your perspective on it. And if you are, this is going to actually amplify things significantly because I wasn't. I was so against AI for so long because I am a little bit more on the woo side. Even some of my friends kind of give me a hard time for that. But it really shifted things. And so one of the biggest things that I realized is that, you can't really force yourself out of a bad state. You can't really just push through because it makes things harder. It makes things worse. And again, coming back to my injury, that's what really happened. That's what it showed me when you really start forcing things because I was just going through such a rough patch, but I kept on forcing. I was just like, I want to keep going. I want to keep going. I want to keep going. And eventually I burned myself out and something just had to give. And that was my shoulder, right? That was my pectoral tendon ripped right off the bone. So one thing that happened recently that I came back in and I really started applying this stuff because I just remembered how powerful this was is that you got to change your energy, change your life. Change your energy, change your life. And it all comes down to awareness. And I actually made another previous video on this channel where I was talking about, I took my flow of how I utilize AI a lot, and I go through a whole flow, and I show you how I prompt it, which again, I'm going to come back to that here in a little bit. But, I was going through that, and one of the things that it kept reminding me of, because the way I utilize it is I ask it questions on basically how to quiz me, right? And if challenges are going to arise, I want it to be like, hey, tell me what these challenges are, and I want you to ask me how I would respond to them. And so this is a really cool scenario because especially if you're not in the state where you're all anxious, like it will happen from time to time with all of us because we're humans on planet Earth, right? But if you can do that and you can kind of get ahead of the curve before those anxiety, those anxious feelings start coming up, then you can start getting ahead of that. And you can start mapping out a little bit more of a game plan instead of waiting till those anxious feelings come in and then you're just kind of all over the place, right? So what is really the big thing that I'm getting to here? Well, it's awareness, right? Because here's the thing, when I keep trying to push through, and keep on trying to push through, it just worsens the problem. And I don't even like take a second to reflect and just be, right? But what's really powerful is that when you can just have that awareness, you can have the awareness of certain thoughts that are popping up. You can have awareness of how you're feeling and take an audit of how you're feeling. That's when you can start addressing the issue. And that's exactly what I experienced recently. In fact, what ended up happening is I woke up and I was just tired. I woke up and I wasn't feeling at my best. And typically, especially recently, I would have just pushed through that and gone through the day. And then by the end of the day, I would have had all these anxious feelings, right? But for this particular day, since I kind of went through this prompt flow that I'll show you here in a second, is that I realized that I was like, okay, I have the awareness right now that I'm not feeling great. I'm kind of, lacking energy. My energy kind of dipped, right? And so again, coming back to Dr. Joe's stuff is that it's like, change your energy, change your life. And so I was like, okay, well, let me change my energy, because the way I look at it, and my mind works in metaphors a lot these days, and I think it's a really cool way to explain this stuff. Even thinking about like this water bottle, right? It's about halfway full right now. And so let's say that I woke up like that, and it's about like right here, if you can see that, where I was like right there. Instead, I always want to wake up where I have this type of energy, right? Where it's at the top. But I knew that I was about right here, right when I woke up. And if I just pushed through, I was going to eventually get down to here by about midday, and then I wouldn't have anything left, right? So instead, what I decided to do is I decided to change my energy, right? So that I could push it back up, and then I would have this for the rest of the day, and then I could go through it through the rest of the day. So how the heck did I actually do that? Well, there's a lot of different modalities. I definitely recommend the Blessing of the Energy Center's meditation. And we actually did a challenge inside of our Skool community that has over 1,000 members now. We did a 30-day challenge, and likely we're going to be doing another challenge. People really enjoyed that. And we might even shrink it down to a 14-day challenge, but it really helped a significant amount of people in our group. So if you want to be included into our next challenge, make sure and subscribe to this YouTube channel so that you can be updated, but then also go ahead and subscribe to our Skool community. It's a free community, and there's a lot of amazing entrepreneurs that are really on their path, on their vision, on their mission, building their authentic personal brand using the Woo+Do framework. And so, yeah, we will likely do that again, because it's powerful when we do it together. And I made a bunch of videos on that previous challenge, so you can feel free to go check that out. We have all the recordings. But you can do stuff like that to change your energy. And that's what I recommend, because that's like probably the biggest thing that I've learned from Dr. Joe is that like he would always talk about is like, if you're not feeling good and you're not ready to like attack the day because you're feeling these anxious thoughts or, whatever type of emotions and feelings. And if you're not feeling it, you sit down and you sit there until you do feel good. You change your energy. You get the energy back up to 100%. Otherwise, you don't stand up, right? And what I did is I did some deep breathing along with the meditation. Okay, I like to combine both of them because it gets me into into my physiology on top of just my meditation and just sitting there, because I can then start feeling it. So I have a lot of different modalities. And again, that's why I want to come back to the AI stuff, because it actually quizzed me to figure out what are going to be my modalities. Okay, I talked about breath work. I talked about cold therapy so that I could get more into my body in a somatic way, right? That's why I like to do breath work. That's like why I like to have multiple ways on how to do it. And just thinking outside the box even a little bit more is not just like a spiritual practice, but also like good a nutrient dense diet, right? Because if I'm feeling fatigued and I haven't eaten anything today, I know that sounds obvious, but for me, that just keeps on pushing and working throughout the day. Sometimes I kind of forget to stop and go have a good meal, right? And so it forced me to really figure out what I would do in those scenarios when I'm not feeling at my best. And it forces me to sit down and, raise my energy so that I can change my life. Okay? Because I don't want to be operating from a low battery. That's the last thing that I want to be doing, and the last thing that I want you to be doing. Okay? Especially if you're really, you're really starting to tap into this type of stuff. Okay. So change your energy, change your life. I mean, I've made tons of videos on this channel talking about this, but I want to repeat that because this whole concept of spaced repetition, and really life is much about just remembering stuff that we had forgotten, right? And so the more that you can just be aware, notice those thoughts that are coming in, notice those feelings that are not serving you the best, and just notice them, observe them, watch them. We are not our thoughts. We are not our feelings. Okay, we just observe them, and we can observe them and we can decide on, okay, now I'm going to do something about this, but you have to be aware. Most people are walking around in this earth just being oblivious to everything that's going on internally. So the more that you can actually sit down and listen to your body and what it's telling you, and your emotions and what it's telling you, and your thoughts and what it's telling you, the more aware you're going to be, the more that you can address these situations. Right? And it's interesting because I was at an event recently, and this girl comes up to me and she says, like, wow, it looks like you're so on your spiritual path and you're so good at meditating and all this type of stuff. And I was like, yes, like it's been a journey for sure, but I still have my challenges. And she's like, why? I could never do that. Like I'm not there. Right? And I said, like, well, that's the reason that you need to do it. Because it's like, I think a lot of people have this misnomer about the meditations and becoming very present and grounded. They think that, like, I have to be good at that before I can start, but it's the practice of doing it that actually helps you become more grounded and more centered. So that's what I really want to encourage you to do, as well as just start. Okay. Again, we have a bunch of the resources inside of our Skool community, but they're also all over YouTube. You can also just leave a comment down below and we'll send it over to you. There's a lot of different ways. My favorite is the Blessing of the Energy Centers in terms of Dr. Joe Dispenza's work. I totally recommend reading this book and just like internalizing it yourself. Yes, I want to share all the stuff that I got out of this book, but it is also really powerful to read this book and listen to the audiobook at the same time, and so that you can understand the context behind everything that he teaches. I would even recommend that you go listen to some of the interviews that he has done. He's done it with Jay Shetty. That was a really powerful one that I listened to. That really helped me understand his stuff, because again, the more that you can internalize this stuff by the concept of spaced repetition, the more powerful it's going to be, because you're going to understand the context and you're going to hear all the stories that really happen where people literally change their lives. I made another video on this YouTube channel about how a guy became a millionaire in less than 48 hours after going to a Dr. Joe Dispenza retreat. And it was crazy because this guy didn't even believe in this stuff, and all of a sudden by the end of it, he had a couple of his clients, they had to offload a bunch of money for tax reasons, and that accounted to over $1 million in less than 48 hours. I strongly recommend that you go check out that video. But it's really powerful when you really start understanding energy, and you really start giving out that energy and receiving that energy and letting it flow, because it's a constant flow. And the more that you constrict onto that flow, the more it's going to tighten, the more that you're not going to experience that stuff. That's why when I started incorporating this Joe Dispenza stuff, that's when money started flowing to me easier. Like literally dream clients would come out of nowhere. All of a sudden, just like, hey, I wanted to work with you. Here's the check, paid in full. And got a bunch of referrals from that. It's just like the energy was flowing. And then it was interesting because it was like I bought a bunch of new furniture for my apartment, and my roommate at the time was like, I don't know if we can afford this. And I was like, oh, we'll make more money. And it was like I just had this internal feeling because the energy was flowing. And that only comes from doing the meditations. That only comes from doing the practices. But it all starts with that awareness. You have to start with that awareness. Okay, and the more that you actually sit down and do the meditations, the more you sit down and actually read the books and understand the context behind these and why it works, that's when you actually can raise your energy. You raise your energy, you get more grounded, you understand this stuff. And it's like every time you sit down, it's like raising the energy a little bit more, raising the energy a little bit more, raising the energy a little bit more. And it's really, really powerful. And until you really go out there and experience it, you don't really understand it at the same level. Because I have a lot of friends, and like that girl that was at the event, she's like, how do you do this? And she was asking so many questions. She was so curious about it. And I was like, you just got to go do it. You got to go experience it. And that's like what I've done a lot in my life. Some of these really profound spiritual experiences, like when I back and played baseball and I hit a home run off the scoreboard, when I saw it in my mind first. It was crazy. But then that's what had me really believing in this manifestation stuff. But then when I started experiencing more business success because of the way I tapped in spiritually, right? I could only experience it, and people asked me how I did it, and I would teach it, and obviously share this type of stuff on the YouTube channel and Skool Community inside our coaching program as well. And that's what I guide people to really, we help build them a custom plan so that they can go out and experience it. So it's really, really powerful stuff. But now I want to get into our old buddy Chat GPT, because this is extremely, extremely powerful stuff. So I'm going to open up a new thread. And so what's also really cool, if you confront it, is I would really encourage you to get the paid version. Okay, you get Chat GPT as it stands right now. Things obviously are changing and moving very quickly, but this is 40, and it's the most advanced version, right? And I do believe that you get the voice mode version, which I just started tapping into today, but it made a profound difference. But I want to walk you through what a flow would look like for me, and just help you understand like how I prompt this, how I can utilize Dr. Joe Dispenza's work, and just get curious with this to really help me with literally anything. Okay, so let's see what we got. I'll do a quick run through. I'm making a YouTube video right now, and I want to illustrate how powerful Becoming Supernatural is by Dr. Joe Dispenza to my viewers. Can you help me out?
Absolutely. Becoming Supernatural by Dr. Joe Dispenza is all about transforming your life through meditation, visualization, and understanding the mind-body connection. You can highlight some key concepts from the book, like how thoughts can shape reality, the power of the placebo effect, and using elevated emotions to manifest desired outcomes. Would you like some specific examples or tips on how to present these ideas in your video?
Yeah, I'm actually making the video right now, so welcome to it. And one of the things that I really want to share with my audience here is I want to show them how they can gain more awareness, because I talked about how we were having a conversation yesterday, or one of the days previously, where we're talking about the first step is always awareness. Can you expand on that?
Sure thing. Awareness is the foundation of transformation. It starts with recognizing your current thoughts, emotions, and behaviors. In Becoming Supernatural, Dr. Joe Dispenza emphasizes the importance of becoming a conscious observer of your own life. This means paying attention to habitual patterns and understanding how your thoughts influence your reality. To help your audience gain more awareness, you can suggest practical steps like 1. Meditation. Encourage them to set aside time daily to quiet their mind and observe their thoughts. 2. Journaling. Writing down their thoughts and emotions can help them identify patterns and triggers. 3. Mindfulness practices. Being present in everyday activities can increase their awareness of how they feel and react. Would you like more details on how to incorporate these concepts into your video?
Yeah, I would actually love to create let's do a 3-step process that we can turn into a practice that my audience can utilize in a day-to-day, so that they can really start incorporating these habits into their lives.
That sounds great. Here's a simple 3-step process your audience can start using daily. Step 1, morning meditation, 5 to 10 minutes. Encourage your viewers to begin their day with a short meditation. They can sit quietly, focus on their breathing, and simply observe their thoughts without judgment. This helps build self-awareness by starting the day with a clear, focused mind. Step 2, midday check-in, 2 to 3 minutes. Suggest a quick mindfulness practice during their day. They can pause, take a few deep breaths, and observe how they're feeling and what they're thinking. This helps them stay connected to their inner state and make conscious choices. Evening reflection. At the end of the day, recommend they spend a few minutes journaling. They can reflect on their experiences, noting any patterns or significant thoughts and emotions. This practice helps consolidate their self-awareness and prepares them for the next day. These steps provide a balanced approach to building awareness throughout the day. How does that sound for your video?
Yeah, that's amazing. And on top of that, an additional thing that you know that we've been doing is what I like to call the simulator. So I want you to put me through 2 different challenges that might arise throughout these days when implementing that 3-step practice, so that I can respond. And I want you to grade me, and I don't want you to be easy on me. So let's get at it.
Sounds like a great way to simulate real-world challenges. Let's dive in. Challenge 1. One morning, you find yourself extremely busy with unexpected tasks and skip your morning meditation. By midday, you feel overwhelmed and stressed. How would you handle this situation? During your evening reflection, you notice that you've been consistently forgetting to do the midday check-in. What strategies could you implement to ensure you remember this step? I'll give you feedback on your responses. Let's go.
I'll start with the first one is I know that I would much rather have a 20, 30-minute meditation that would really ground me and keep me present for a good majority of the day. But I also want to have a simple 2-minute exercise or even a 5-minute exercise that I can sit and just be present and just take a breath as opposed to going to my phone or doing some other type of distractive things that fall into my patterns. And then at night, I want to also utilize that as well, because I know that just doing a little bit of meditation practice, a little bit of mindfulness practice, a little bit of journaling practice is better than nothing.
Great insights. For challenge 1, you've acknowledged the importance of even a short mindfulness practice. A 2 to 5 minute exercise, focusing on your breath or simply sitting quietly, can indeed help ground you and reduce stress. This practice can be especially useful on busy days. Your intention to avoid distractions like your phone is a strong step toward maintaining this awareness. For challenge 2, recognizing the value of consistent, even brief mindfulness practices is key. You can set reminders or tie the check-in to a routine activity, like lunch. Creating a habit around these steps will help you maintain consistency. Overall, you're on the right track. Keep focusing on small, consistent steps, and you'll find it easier to integrate these practices into your daily life. Great job.
So that's kind of the gist of, when I came through here. And what's kind of cool is that after you end that, so we just did that for, a quick 5-minute chat. And then so here it basically breaks everything down. And so again, here's like the 3-step process. So basically everything that I've concluded from this book and all the, hundreds of hours of meditation, these are simple little things that you can do. Now, obviously you want to grow into maybe a little bit longer practice, but again, depending on where you're at within your spiritual journey and the practices that Dr. Joe mentions, really take this and practice it and live it, because it's really, really important. And if you do this more often, it's going to really help ground you, make you more present, and you're just going to have that groundedness to you. So that's the gist of this video. I trust that you got a lot of value from it. If you want to start partaking in some more of our challenges and things that we're going to start doing on the Woo front, as well as the Do front with the AI, with social media, so you can build your authentic personal brand utilizing the Woo and Do framework, I strongly recommend that you jump into our Skool community. The links will be down in the video description. You can also go check out a free video that I built specifically for you guys here on YouTube, so that you can check out what exactly the Woo and Do process all consists of, so that you can start utilizing it as well. And if you feel like you're ready to take things to the next level, make sure book a call with me so we can walk you through and talk to you about our coaching program, so we can build a customized, applicable program for you that holds you accountable and make sure that you're hitting all your goals inside of the Woo side, and then also building out your business and becoming the best version of yourself. So thank you for watching this video. I truly appreciate your time, and we'll talk to you on the next one. Bye-bye.